بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Welcome to our program Lessons in Fiqh. Today inshallah we're going to start a new chapter of our book Bulugh al-Maram, and this chapter has the title of the nullification of Wodo, Nawaqid al-Wudu. And as you know, anything you do has pillars and prerequisites for it to be correct and authentic. Yet at the same time, there are things that if you do them, it nullifies it. And worships are of the same sort. For example, fasting, every one of us fasts. And there are prerequisites for your fasting to be correct. There are pillars such as intention, such as not consuming food or drink, or of the sort, the things that you all know. But at the same time, there are things that nullifies your fasting if you do them intentionally. If you eat or drink intentionally during the daytime of Ramadan, then this nullifies your fast. Pilgrimage also shares the same thing, pillars and nullifications. Islam itself shares the same thing. To be a Muslim, you have to do certain things, such as to testify. You have to believe that there is only one God that is worthy of being worshipped, and He has no partner. La ilaha illallah, wahdahu la sharika lah. And you have to testify that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is His servant and messenger. You have to follow him. You have to believe in what he says in order for you to be a Muslim. And you have to pray. Now there are things that nullifies your Islam. You could testify, you could believe, but you could also at the same time do things that nullifies your Islam completely, and you do not become, or you're not considered to be a Muslim. For example, if a person testifies, prays, fasts, performs pilgrimage, but at the same time he believes that a dead person in his grave has the power to grant him children, has the power to grant him wealth, has the power to prevent harm from happening to him. And that is why whenever he is in a problem or trouble, he would say, "Oh Maulana, oh Wali, so and so, oh you pious person." He's calling a dead person, and he thinks that and believes that he can help him. Then this person is not a Muslim. By believing, by doing this act, he has nullified his Islam. And he has to purify his belief and religion in believing that only Allah Azza wa Jal brings good and prevents harm. Likewise, if a person does not pray, though he is a believer, he says, he claims, but he does not pray at all, not one single prayer. The Prophet ﷺ said, he who does not pray is not a Muslim. The only barrier, the only difference between us and the non-believers is prayer. So whoever abandons it is not considered to be a Muslim. Now, this is generally speaking. Going back to our topic, the nullification of wudu, ablution is what we do before performing prayer. And we wash the limbs as we've described previously. Now, there is a state that is not physical. It is something that is not, you cannot touch it. It is something that is considered to be a description that falls on one of us after doing certain things. Now, we have something that we call purity. Mustafa, can you explain what is the meaning of purity in Arabic?
Tahara.
Tahara. Now, tahara means purity and cleanliness. Purity has two versions of it: major purity and minor purity. Now, if you reverse this, you have what we call hadath. Hadath in Arabic translates to an event, something that took place. And it's a form of a ritual, whether it's sexual, major sexual ritual, which is sexual impurity, hadath akbar. And this happens when someone has an intercourse, or a woman has her menstruation, then she is clean, she takes, at the time of menstruation she has al-hadath al-akbar. Or after giving birth, while she's bleeding, she's still in nifas, this is hadath akbar. And we have something that is called hadath asghar, which is a minor form of hadath. And this takes place if someone nullifies his wudu. So it's one of the two. Either you are in the state of purity, which means that you have performed wudu, and now you are pure to perform salah. You can pray. Or you are in the form of minor impurity. Not sexual, major, no, minor impurity. And this is caused by one of the things that nullifies your ablution, hadath asghar. Okay, now if I performed wudu, I'm called to be tahir. I'm known to be pure. I have the purity in me because I have just performed ablution. What happens if I pass wind? Shame on you. Well, regardless, what happens if I do this? Now people would say you are not pure to pray, which means that I have committed al-hadath al-asghar, the minor thing that is a description. Okay, has anything changed in me? Can we recognize people with this form of impurity, whether it's major or minor? If I see someone walking in the streets, would I say, he looks like he has the minor impurity, hadath asghar? No, this one looks as if he's okay, he just performed ablution. You cannot tell. So it's not something that is physical. It is something that is described on you. It's a description. By giving you this introduction, now you know it is not something physical, which means that the things that nullifies your wudu are a handful of things. We will mention them inshallah. And if it occurs, it means that you cannot pray. You have to perform ablution again. We will go inshallah step by step to mention the things that scholars have agreed upon, that they nullify your wudu, and the things that they have different opinions regarding this topic and subject. The first hadith,
narrated Anas, may Allah be pleased with him. The companions of Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam in his lifetime used to wait for Isha night prayer, so much so that their heads were lowered down by dozing. They would then pray without performing ablution.
Now, the first thing that nullifies wudu, in accordance to the companions and the scholars, is sleeping. And in this hadith, Anas tells us, if you remember Nur, Anas ibn
Malik.
Yes, and do you remember his mother's name? You forgot.
Yeah, forget it.
Fadi? Sulaym. And this is, a footnote.